How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation. It's time to get those creative juices flowing. Time to get that imagination all running wild, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Bob Kane. If you don't know who he is, check right over here. He is the creative mind behind basically the whole Batman series. One of them. There's another couple of people that were involved in it as well, but he's attributed as the main contributor to the creation of Batman and all that whole slew of wonderful heroes. He also did some cartooning work and comics work before that as well, and I'll leaf through a couple of pages of his as well. Great layout, great color, just a great mind overall. I really love this older style of the comics page that you don't really see as much with really vibrant colors, and great layout, line of action, and everything too. And this one, another great one. I really like this one. This one had some really nice line work with it. I like the characters here. This old man character, the beard's really nice. Well done. Oversized cups reminds me of the kind of Felix the Cat kind of style, working with faces and the moons and all that stuff. I love the really whimsical older comics as well. And then of course you get into the early Batman stuff, which although I love the newer Batman stuff, I do like the going back to the original, like Superman, the original Batman, where they're kind of in a real raw form and not everything's fleshed out yet, and there's a little more experimentation and going in different ways. And I think that time in comics history, or any time when you get a new character and they're just starting to get fleshed out, and you don't really, like you go into a Batman comic now, you kind of know what you're going to get. There's always going to be twists and turns and better probably storytelling overall nowadays than in comics back then, where it was a little more surfacey. But I kind of like that style. I think it's got definitely I really like this one. Just great layout and phenomenal posing and everything too. And this one, of course, too. It reminds me a lot of is it Frank Miller style? Hellboy guy. Hold on 1 second. Mike Mignola. Couldn't think of his name, but it reminds me of that kind of a style. Even though this was before that, I feel like there's a lot of that same style, the stylistic choices with the coloring and just the way that larger shapes and forms versus intricate details. I really like that as well. But anyways, I wanted to share this quote that I grabbed from him with you guys today too, and it's one has to cease being a ghost and become a leader or innovator. And he was kind of talking about how in his early days of doing comic work and creation that he did some stuff as a ghostwriter, which means that he didn't really credit himself or didn't because the company he was working for or whatever. And he said at some point you have to put that stuff away and really come into your own and become your own person and do your own thing. And I think that's totally true of anyone who wants to be a kind of creator, whatever medium you're working in, is that at some point you have to stop just doing it in secret, and you have to share your stuff with the world and try and lead and guide and share what you know and try and innovate on what it is that you do. And I think that's it's a tough challenge because your work might not get received very well at first, or you're really insecure about your stuff, or there's lots of reasons why, well, I'm not at the level really I want to be at when I first start. But at some point you have to be willing to kind of fail and just continue to try to fail upwards, and grow and reiterate on your failures and learn from them. And I think that's it's a tough thing, but it's definitely, if you want to succeed as someone who's creative and a creator of different work, that you continue to have to try and get out of the mindset of you're just doing it for yourself and in secret and just working on those skills, but starting to get out and sharing them. Like if you're a musician, and you're writing great songs and you're playing every day, at some point, if you really want to take it to the next level, you have to start singing and playing, or whatever instrument you're using, in front of other people and sharing it and seeing where your strengths and weaknesses are and addressing those. But that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation for today. This is the Ultra Zero rig. It's a free rig you can grab over on Creative Crash. And if you're not familiar with what we're going to be doing for the rest of the video, we give ourselves 48 frames, which is 2 seconds of animation. I go off and I find a different rig to share with you guys, so you have a different resource to play around with every day, and one that I've never used as well, so it provides some challenge and some... it's kind of getting dark in here again. Let's see if we can let in some more light. Gotta figure out the lighting in this new studio that we're working in, so sorry about that. Let's see, so that can be a little bit better. I'll get used to it. And I got some lamps and stuff I gotta use, but let's get in here. So a little bit of kind of instruction along the way, a little bit of just hanging out with me while I animate, seeing the process, seeing the goods and the bads, and hopefully along the way you either learn something or get inspired to go off and create your own thing. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn everything off except for our nerve curves, our nerve surfaces, and our polygons. And yeah, let's get into it. Now, one thing, this rig, because I usually tool around with them just for maybe a minute or two before I get into these, just to make sure there's nothing really broken. A couple of the rigs that I've tried out are a little too broken or janky, so I haven't been able to use those in videos. But this one has a unique style with the arms. They just kind of do this rotate, kind of like if you ever use those wall crawly toys that you like throw against the wall and they hold on to there. So it's kind of a funky way to do the arms. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to approach those yet. But I think it'll be a fun challenge, and we'll see how I go. So first off, let's go ahead and try and find a good pose for this guy. Let's see, I feel like I'm gonna puff out the chest here. A little less. We'll do a cycle for this one, just because the way that it's set up is kind of funky, so I don't want to get into too much strange stuff with this. And let's go ahead and see what controls this. The neck. Okay, we're doing that. Push the neck forward a little bit and rotate the head up a little bit. Okay. Just do a little bit of swing here. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, and let's go ahead and set our frame range 0 to 48. And we'll go ahead and save our file. Remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often. And we are using Autodesk Maya 2014 today as well. So just grab everything and we'll set our first key. And let's do the feet first. I think we'll stick with a base 12 system on this one. Nothing too exciting there. let's lock down those here. And this is an older rig, as far as when this rig was made. So that's usually when you get some stuff where it might not be as polished as some of the newer rigs. Overall, it's still a very interesting aesthetic rig. It reminds me, like I said, of those little wall crawling toys that they used to have. I probably still do, probably 99-cent store or something, where you just throw them against the wall and they got sticky hands and sticky feet. Okay, and let's go ahead and maybe not do such high steps. So let's get into our graph editor, look at the translate Y, and translate Y, and let's just universally pull them down a little bit more. I really like looking at that older Batman stuff. Very cool. Love the early style comics. And bring that up again. And bring that down again. I'm just doing a little up and down in the hips here. So let's go ahead and see that. And let's even that out a little bit more. So there's not like a big up and a big down, but rather kind of a medium amount of that throughout. Oh, it's so dark in here. Let's frame that open a bit more. Did that give a little more light? Okay. See that. Trying to get figure out what's a good balance. It's either really bright or really dark in here. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do the lighting for these videos, but hopefully the audio is better than it was probably about a week ago or so. Different mic in a different place I'm recording in, so let's see here. Starting to work alright. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of translate X over the planted foot and back again, and zeroed out. Let's go ahead and look at that now. Okay, and let's go ahead and even that up a little bit more. Again, I guess this one's going to be kind of vanilla-y in the walk. Oh, we can add some stuff. I feel like how we approach the hands is going to make this walk definitely different than normal style here. And let's do a little bit of rotate to lean into that step for the weight there. And zero it out. Let's go and look at that now. And then we'll offset that in the chest too, so it's not like the whole body is leaning one way or the other. And I think we'll do a little bit less and also even it out so we're not favoring one side over the other. Okay, and let's do a little bit of rotate Y here to favor the front planted foot so the hips are kind of going into that. There, and there again. So let's go and see that. Okay, and maybe we'll do a little less on there and find a good medium balance there. Okay, now let's go and look at the chest here, and we'll do a little bit of rotate Y there, so we get that bit of twist, and then the other way again, back again, and back again, so we get that little bit of twist there. And obviously we're favoring one side over the other, so let's adjust that so we get a fair amount of movement between the two. And bring that down a little bit. Let's go ahead and see that now. Feels a little upset the neck then because of how that's working. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do the neck then. I guess we'll try it on the head there. Let's zero it out again. Let's go and look at that now. Still feels like there's probably a little too much. I mean, it works well for the chest, but it's making the head be all wobbly, so we'll have to adjust it a little bit there. Okay, let's go and see that now. I feel like the head might be doing too much movement now. So this is going to be that part where you'll have a little bit of give and take here. And then we might need to just adjust it overall in the hips, but I feel like the main problem is the head portion rather than the hips and the chest, so that feels really good. Now let's do a little bit of, let's see, rotate X. Try to get it focused forward a little bit more. And probably just a little bit of that. I don't remember we need a lot here. Do a little less rotate Y there. Maybe a little more. And just cut down the rotate Z there. Well, it feels alright. Not perfect, but let's do some stuff with the arms here. Bring it back. Bring it forward. Bring it back. And bring it forward. So let's see here. Okay, and what we're gonna have to do is swing the arm out around the leg so we don't intersect it. I think that'll work. So bring that forward here. And bring it back. Bring it forward. And bring it back. Let's go and see that now. Okay, and let's go here. And we're gonna have to go out. Move back, move out, move in, out, move in, out, in again. So let's see here. Okay, we gotta figure out a good balance of that. It's a little too busy for me. Because we still want to not intersect through the leg, but gotta be careful that we're not making it. That feels a little better. Definitely a different style that I haven't done before with this one. It's fun though. Definitely come up with different creative ideas for how to make this work than I normally do. And that's part of the fun of trying out different rigs all the time. So I challenge you guys, if you're into animation and doing 3D animation to force yourself to use different rigs than ones that you're currently using all the time, so that you can have different challenges and get more familiar with just the way that different studios or different creators make their rigs. And there's a lot of things that are the same, but the little differences sometimes make it more fun. Okay, we're still going to have to do a little bit more swing out here. It's just a bit of we're touching the leg there a little bit. It's mainly just on these ones though. I almost want to make it so there's really goes right along the leg. Yeah. I'll let it tip out there. More swing out. Try and avoid tangenting a little bit. Let's see. And that's a good tip when you're drawing or animating. Try not to have tangents go right next to each other. So like if, let me see if I'm doing on camera. If I'm drawing my head by my hand, I want it to be like on the outside, not that the line would go right at the same time. If that makes sense. It's easier if I could just draw it. Okay, let's do it this way. This works because there's some space in here, but if I do just like that, where they're touching, that's not as clear. So I either want to go inward, so you can still see that there's two separate things, or out further, so that you can see if they're just barely touching and they're tangenting like that, it's not as clear. So you want to make sure that you're doing your posing to avoid tangents when you're doing that. That's a better example. I don't know what I was doing. I can draw it way easier. So I should do drawing videos rather than animating videos, but that's okay. Do a little bit of drag there. A little bit of drag there. Bring it forward. And let's do that. A little bit of drag there. A little bit of drag there. And let's go look at them now. I think we'll need to either lower the drag or raise the steps up a little bit more, because right now you're not getting that feel that the foot's actually lifting up. So let's see that now. I think we need to add a little bit more up and down on the hips as well. Let's do it like so. I like the way that this is set up with these higher steps though, because it almost feels like the knee is pushing the hand back now, or kicking it back. Kind of like how when horses run, their like back feet kick up their front feet when they're running. So that works kind of well. Okay, and let's do, we have a toe. Okay, do a little bit of toe drag there. Lift up, and flatten it out. And drag down, lift it up, and flatten it out just help sell those contacts a little bit better. Let's go in here. Okay. Drag the toe there, lift it up, flatten it out, and drag the toe there, lift it up, and 0. Let's go and see that now. Okay, I feel like we could do a little less side to side. And a little more up and down here. Not a lot. I still like a good sway there. Let's kind of look at that. And let's do a little more up and down. Let's kind of look at that. That fits a little better. Let's save our file and let's do a little bit of compression in the chest. So let's rotate and we'll offset it when we do the rotation on the chest. But we don't want a lot of this, so let's make sure we keep it pretty clean and don't do too much here. Too much in the hips. I forget that this chest controller is a little bit funky. Okay. So let's clean up what we have here, and then I think we're going to have to really neuter what we did in the hips, because it's just not bending in the way a normal chest and hips controller would react to each other. But that's okay. We'll figure it out here. Let's see what we have here. See if we can't do a little bit of extra overlap in here and breaking up that middle movement there a little bit more. So let's scale it back and just have a little bit of that in there. You can even try going the other way too, where we drag it instead of have it lead the action. What if we even scale it up a little bit? Oh, sorry. Did a little bit of scale on the chest, that might work. Just a little bit. just do a little teeny bit of this, not a lot. Let's see. Yeah, it's still way too much. I'm gonna have to just do a smidgen of this. A little goes a long way here. You just want that feel to kind of loosen up. Get that little bit of squash and stretch there. Let's try and move curves off so that I'm distracting it so we can look at that. That feels a little better. Yeah, I think that works out alright. So let's go ahead and set a save our file. And we'll create a new camera here. And we'll look through that new camera. And we'll create a new cube background there. We'll assign a new material to it. We'll put a Lambert on there. Let's make it like a red. It's a good color. Darker red. So it's our perspective. Yeah, it feels pretty good. So let's take a look back at where we started. We're looking at Bob Kane today, and a phenomenal mind, one of the phenomenal minds behind creating the Batman comic series. And he said one has to cease being a ghost and become a leader or an innovator. So I guess that's the big challenge for today, is to stop any of your inhibitions and just take a step and go out there and lead and innovate. So that being said, thanks again for watching. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. Definitely in the comments down below, let me know if you end up using this rig, and share it back so I can see all the wonderful stuff you guys are coming up with here. And that goes for anything that you guys are creating. I want to get inspired by you guys too. So definitely share back any of that stuff. And then along the way, while you're watching this video, if you had any ideas of things we could do different, definitely share that down below, or things that you learned along the way as well. So that being said, you guys are awesome. I love you lots, and we'll see you for some more animation tomorrow.